All right, so it looks like we have lots of people who have joined us. So I want to thank everyone for coming to our last You Start session of 2021. Just a few housekeeping items. Make sure to keep yourself muted throughout the presentation and keep your camera off until the Q&A. And then we'll have an opportunity if you want to turn your camera on and ask us a question, you're welcome to. In the chat, I have my colleagues that are going to be answering questions. So if you have any questions at all, make sure to ask us in the chat throughout the presentation, and then we'll have an opportunity for Q&A. So we're going to get started with our presentation. So tonight we're going to be focusing on college life in the College of Engineering. So we have some students with us today, as well as some advisors, and Dr. Sean Ma, one of the professors from the redesign team. So here's a quick agenda. So sorry about that. So we're going to have a welcome from Dr. Suzanne Cresta, the Dean of College of Engineering. We're going to have a campus tour trivia. So make sure you have your cell phone ready to play some trivia and help you get to know a little bit more about the College of Engineering. And then I'm going to pass it over to Dr. Sean Ma, who's going to tell you a little bit more about the college's new first-year program. Then we're going to hear from our student groups and have a student panel where you can ask your questions. So if you have any questions, make sure to ask them throughout the presentation in the chat. So I just want to also introduce all the people that are with me today presenting. So my name is Caitlin Dilsner, and I'm the college's recruitment officer. I recognize a lot of names from the last You Start session we had last Tuesday, and then also I'm the one that's been chatting with you in the Discord channel. So thank you so much for everyone for joining us. We also have, like I said, Dr. Sean Ma, who is a first-year professor and also is part of the redesign team for Reengineered. So if you have any questions about your academics or your classes, he's an expert. I have Carlene Deutscher with me, who's going to be sharing a video about the student clubs, and she works a lot with alumni in our student groups. So I'm sure as you become a student, you'll get to know Carlene. We also have Sarah Bechter, who's one of our academic advisors. So make sure to ask any questions and she'll be in the chat. And then we also have some students with us today. So we have Annika Holstrom, we have Emily Bradshaw, Ashton Hintz, Jeremy Rempel, Cassie Burgess, and Arlis Sidlowski. And they're going to be sharing a little bit more about the student groups. And then finally, we have Dr. Suzanne Cresta, who's the Dean of Engineering. And I'm going to pass it off to Suzanne for some opening remarks.
Good evening, everybody. We're thrilled to have you here. Thanks for signing up and showing up. And this is maybe one of the more engaging and important, in a hidden way, presentations you'll have. One of the things that we know is that students who develop a network of friends and colleagues actually do better in school. They have a solid support group. They have people they can go to for help with their courses. They develop a life outside of school that helps get them through the good days and the bad days. And so I want to encourage all of you to keep up the good work. Keep showing up for things that are outside the classroom and really engage with all of the great student clubs in the college. Find one that's a really good fit for you and stick with it, because it'll really, really enrich your time within the college. I'll tell you a little bit about my background in engineering. I started my, I did my degree at the University of New Brunswick and finished in 1986. I moved out west to the University of Alberta in 1992 to become an academic at the University of Alberta, and stayed there until 2018 when I moved to Saskatchewan to become the dean here. My research area is turbulent mixing, so some of you may have seen me making coffee on the college website. I have a lot of fun in that area. I had a conversation with a bunch of retired professionals in Saskatoon about vaccine scale-up the other day, because that's another one of the industries I work in. So an enormous amount of to learn, so many possibilities for ways you can engage to move the world forward and do really cool things. I was down in the clean room for the RadSat project on Thursday afternoon last week, and they've done a really great job of building a mini clean room right inside the building. And so that was really fun and really great to see. Things are continuing on. I want to tell you a little bit about what campus life is going to be like in the fall. We are planning the details of that even as we speak. And we're really excited about where this is actually going. So what's going to happen for the first year classes is the College of Arts and Science has decided to go completely online for the fall. So as far as I know, all of those courses are going to be much like you've experienced this year. Engineering is going to have any class or any section less than 120 students face-to-face. So I'll be teaching one of your modules in September. I'm extremely excited to get back in the classroom. And the lectures that I give will be online, not face-to-face. But our 100 student breakout rooms will be face-to-face. So we're going to have rooms to collect people in, and we're pulling those pieces together. And it's going to be great to see you and to get a chance to meet people and be a little bit closer together. The details of the public health orders are still evolving. We're waiting to know more about that. We're going to keep assessing the situation as things unfold. So we may see masks on campus for a period of time, but we will keep you posted again as that comes through. Feel free to put questions in the chat. I'll be happy to answer them, and I'll stay for a little bit after my conversation. The other thing that I want to tell you, those of you that are moving to Saskatoon from other places or who are moving out on your own for the first time, it's a wonderful experience. First year, you're going to find that your learning accelerates and our expectations go up a little bit. So the whole first year program has been designed to support your success in that and to really uplift your learning in ways that will make it more fun, keep it challenging, keep it moving fast, and give you a chance to keep pulling things together as you build momentum and get your really important grounding in first year. I am very excited to have Sean Ma here with us tonight because he is one of the masterminds behind the new first year program. I know that many of you have seen him already in different sessions and videos online. And I want you to know that this team has been putting everything that they have into getting this very special launch ready for you in the fall. They have a very aggressive project timeline. They've got a lot of people on the team. And I think that we are going to see something really, really special that will dramatically change the way we think about first year engineering courses. So thank you for having me with you tonight, Caitlin, and I want to pass the microphone back to you.
Thanks, Suzanne. I think it's so exciting that this group gets to be the first cohort to experience all the hard work that the college has been putting into this amazing program. So you are all a very lucky bunch that you get to be a part of the very first class of Re-Engineered. So the next thing I would like to do is, normally I would be giving you guys a campus tour if we were on campus, but obviously we can't do that. So instead what I've done is made a little campus tour trivia game. So if you have your cell phone with you, you can either scan this QR code, or if you have a computer, just type in the address at the bottom, so ahaslides.com/ustart, and you'll be joined into the game that we have. So I'm going to be asking you some questions so that you can get to know campus a little bit. So I'm just going to give everyone a second to join the game. All right, let's see. We have most of the students in the game. All right, so maybe what? Okay, so it looks like we have everyone. Lots of students. All right, so looks
Caitlin,
like we have.
there you
Yeah.
go. You're good.
Okay, it's all good.
Yeah, you're good
Okay.
to go.
All right, so it looks like we have lots of students here from Saskatoon. Looks like Regina is the next place where people are coming from. We have Calgary, Administer. Great, so it looks like there's lots of students here. So the next question is, how do you guys feel about starting engineering this fall? And choose the SpongeBob gift that maybe fits what you're feeling the most. So it looks like all of the above, lots of different feelings around what engineering is going to be like. So any students that are maybe feeling really nervous or not sure what to expect, that's why we have our student panelist here. And you can ask your questions to learn a little bit more about what engineering is going to be like this fall for you. All right. So next is our campus tour. So I'm just going to give everyone a second to join this game. So there's just going to be a list of questions, and then I'll give you a little bit of facts about the different buildings that we get to see on our virtual tour. All right. So I'll just wait for everyone to join. And once we have lots of students in, then I will get started. So the first question is going to be about the picture that's behind on your phone, or the picture that's on the screen is going to be the quiz question. All right, so it looks like most students are in the game. I'll give a few more seconds. And we're at 92, 93. All right, we'll start the quiz. All right. So what is this green space in the center of campus called? So this is a space where it's one of my favorite places on campus. I love to have picnics, especially in the fall, right when school starts. During Welcome Week, which is the first week of school, there's always lots of events happening in this green space in the very center of campus. There's often live music and different booths set up so you can learn about the different student clubs. So this is a really special place on campus that's probably my favorite place. All right, so it's called the Bowl. And the building behind it is actually called Peter McKinnon. So that was a little bit of a tricky question. All right, so the next question is about our campus museums. So the image that you see behind you there is a dinosaur, and this is in the geology building. There is a large museum of natural science bones. They have an aquarium full of different fish. There's like a big, beautiful green area where there's lots of tropical plants, and there's also Tim Hortons. So it's a pretty cool place where you can have your Tims and then also be right beside a giant dinosaur. So how many campus museums and galleries is there? So we actually have 5 different galleries and museums on campus. So the next photo that I have here is the Museum of Antiquities that has lots of Greek and Roman artifacts. And as a student, you can just, as a student, wander in and view this beautiful museum. It's a really cool place. So next, I'm going to show you some of the buildings that you might want to know about. So this building hosts one of our largest lecture theaters and is also one of our newer buildings on campus. If you're driving around in Saskatoon, it's a very prominent building because it's right along College Drive. The rounded space is a popular study area. It's one of my favorite places. It's just so bright and sunny and beautiful. And this also building has a Tim Hortons in it. So if you're looking for some coffee, I would recommend going here. And this building is the Health Sciences building. So although you may not be taking any courses that are a health science course, you still may have some courses in this building because of the very large, beautiful lecture theater. All right, and the picture on the back there is of the interior. So it looks like a mixer, the little cook is in the lead. All right, so the next question is about different food on campus. So the building on the screen there is called Place Real, and in the lower level of this building, and there's a large food court. So this is often a place where students will get lunch, hang out. There's also the International Student Study Abroad Center in this building. And where the photographer is taking this photo is actually in the bowl. So if you remember the previous picture of the bowl, this is one of the buildings along the big loop. You can also get your bus pass here. And if you have any questions about being a student, there's students sent the USSU that can help you. So wow, there is sadly no McDonald's on campus, but we do have all of the others. And this isn't all the food options that are on campus. These are just what I decided to put in the quiz. So there's lots of different places for you to get food and snacks on campus. So this next building here is probably one of the most photographed buildings on campus, and is also one of the oldest. So this is just kind of on the edge of the bowl, where you can see all those trees. That's again kind of where the bowl is. This building also hosts the airplane room, which is one of the most famous lecture theaters on campus because it has a bunch of paper airplanes that are stuck in the roof. There's lots of myths and legends about the airplanes that are there, so I recommend reading up. And this building was opened in 1924. So 1913 is when the building, they drew up the plans, but unfortunately World War I, sorry, made them halt, and they had to wait until 1924 to open it. All right, so here's another building that you probably want to know about on campus. So this building, you'll probably walk by it if you take the bus. It's right by the bus area, and it's also very close to Place Real, where the food court is. So students often will visit this building, and there are lots of handy things that you may want to learn about. So I'll just wait and see what you guys think this building is. All right, so this building is Fema Library. So great, you guys guessed this really well. So this is one of the, or the largest library on campus, and students like to study here. The ground floor hosts the only Starbucks on campus. So make sure to check it out if you need your daily dose of caffeine. And there's also a big study area in the base or in the main floor that students like to chat. And then as you go up the levels, it gets more and more quiet. So if you like a quiet study space, you can just move up floors. So this is another beautiful building on campus that I would recommend checking out. So lots of students will visit this building, and it's also connected to our tunnel system. So this building is just across from the Murray Library, which is the building that was in the last photo. And there's lots of different things that students can participate in this building. I'll give it a few seconds to see if you can guess what this beautiful building is. So this building is Gordon Oaks Red Bear Student Center. So this is where the Aboriginal Student Center hosts lots of different activities. They have often a soup and bannock, have different events that happen in the space. And the next photo I have is of the interior of it. So they have this beautiful, beautiful ceiling, and it has a ventilation so that they can host events like smudges inside the building. So it looks like Denise is in the lead, followed by Jacob. All right, so there's just a couple questions left. So here is another building on campus. So this is a picture of Saskatchewan Hall. So this building is very close to that first picture I showed you of Peter McKinnon in the bowl. And it's along the path of the bowl. So these pathways during the fall and the spring are always very, very busy with students going from class to class. This building is also connected to the entire tunnel system. So if you are in this building, you will never have to go outside if you don't want to. So let's see if you guys can guess what is in this building. So correct, it is student dorms. So if you chose to live in Voyager Place, you may be living in Saskatchewan Hall, which is also one of the historic buildings on campus in the beautiful Gothic architecture. All right, so here is my last question, which is a very tricky question. What is this building? And I hope that everyone gets this one right. A little bit of trivia about this building. It burnt down. I believe for sure once. Correct me if it wasn't twice. And I'm sure many of you students will be visiting this building at some point in your degree. So it's physics, engineering, business, or arts and science. And great, it is the engineering building. So this, when you can come to campus, is where you will be taking most of your classes. So that's the end of my little campus tour trivia game. So it looks like we have 5 winners. So congratulations to our winners. So now that finishes our campus tour. And I'm going to now pass it off to Sean Ma, who is going to talk to you a little bit about some information from our last session. So Sean, if you're there. All right, so I'll pass it off to you to talk a little bit about some updates from our last session that we hosted last week.
Okay, thanks, Caitlin. And welcome everybody. We're looking forward to seeing you in the fall. Before that though, we're gonna have things starting to happen in June, July, and August. I believe registration is coming up and you'll hear more about that, I suspect, from Caitlin and the others. And in August, starting around August 1st, you'll start to get access to your courses on our learning management system called Canvas. So if you've registered, you'll start seeing that your courses will start popping up online. And one of the reasons for that is you'll be able to start doing what are called the summer top-ups. That'll start in early August. And these are just sort of check-in quizzes to make sure you've got what you need from high school that's going to be used right off the bat in September. In a variety of courses, we'll be doing this in math, physics, chemistry, reading, writing, and Indigenous culture. So there'll be these summer top-ups for each of those. You need to complete them. They have to be completed. They're sort of assignment 0 for fall courses. However, you have unlimited tries to pass them. So there's not a lot of pressure here. And if you get a question wrong, it gives you some feedback on how to get it right the next time. And if it's a subject or a topic that you've not seen before, maybe it was missed in high school or something, there'll be more tutorial materials to help you. Once you come into campus in September, there will be some TAs who will be able to help you finish those up if you're having any difficulties. But they're meant to be fairly basic and just take care of some basic stuff that we're hoping you'll have on the start of classes in September. And they shouldn't take more than 2 or 3 hours at most each if you know the material pretty well. If you're having some challenges or it's sort of newer material, then it could take a little bit longer, but they shouldn't take too long. And that's sort of what's happening in August. The purpose of the summer top-ups, by the way, is to make sure everybody's sort of at the same base level for when we start courses in September. And we have an exciting lineup of new things that'll be happening this fall and winter. and we are excited to have you here, and excited to see how the new first year is going to go. We did do a pilot with last year's first year cohort, and they really enjoyed the pilot. They found it very helpful. They also found it reduced their anxiety in the courses. They found it sort of a fair and sort of more reasonable assessment system. So that's what we're going to be using in the fall with you folks. So hopefully you'll feel the same way, and it'll be a fun fall that we're looking forward to, with some exciting courses and some really fun hands-on experiences.
Great, thank you, John. So I have a few more questions before we jump into our student session. So the new first year program, we've been talking about how it is rebalanced. I was wondering if you could talk a little bit more about why the rebalanced schedule is so beneficial and why students should also be excited about a rebalanced schedule.
Right. Okay. So what Caitlin's getting at is that everybody's going to have a very similar schedule. Everybody have the same lunch hours. There will be lunch hours. The lunch hours will be long enough that you can do something fun, like, I don't know, go to the gym, or have a nap, or do some homework, or have some lunch. These sound like sort of obvious things, but they haven't been the case up until now. And so there'll be the opportunity to see guest speakers. You could actually club activities during the lunch hours, because all the first years will be available. So that's one thing. The day will start at 8:30, with the odd exception when you might have a spare early in the morning, but the day will start at 8:30. There'll be 2 1.5-hour classes. And then there's the lunch break, which will either be an hour, hour and a half. There'll be 2 more classes after that, which could be labs or lectures. And after that, if you're doing just fine, well, the day could be over for you in terms of classes. If you're having some challenges and you want some help, there'll be some tutorial times towards the end of the day and the end of the afternoon. But if you have a part-time job in the evening, or a family you need to take care of, that sort of thing, the day will be officially over late in the afternoon, and you're going to have similar classes. Many of the classes will be in engineering, so you're not going to have to be running all over campus as much as the previous first years used to do. So that's going to be a big plus. We're trying to sort of balance things out across the term and not have the hellish final exam period at the end of the term. So there'll be a series of tests and evaluations throughout the term, but you will not be faced with the big set of exams at the end. In fact, we're going to finish the term with a really fun activity. You're going to have 5 days where each day you're going to be spending a whole day with a different engineering discipline, and that's going to help you in your choices of which engineering discipline you want to pursue, starting at the end of first year. So you're going to have, and there's really no evaluation during those 5 one-day hands-on lab experiences. So it's kind of have fun, learn what different types of engineers do, and learn something new about different types of engineering, and have a good hands-on experience and have some fun. That's how December is going to wrap up for many of you. And so Christmas, you'll go into Christmas generally with a low level of anxiety, which is something, again, different from the past.
Yeah, I heard one student ask me, well, this sounds like a high school day. I don't know if I like this. And I reassured the student, like, no, that is a good thing. You don't want to see the previous schedule. It's a little crazy. So my next question for you, Sean, is what would you say is your tip for success in a non-academic way? So outside of the just purely grades in the classroom, how can students be successful as a future engineer?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think, you could say slow and steady wins the race. Try not to get into a situation where you're strictly fighting fires, as it were. You know, something's due tomorrow, got to get it done. Oh, tomorrow something else is due, I got to get that done. Try and spread out that work so that you're keeping up. Don't fall behind, and that'll be helpful in managing your stress and also preparing you well for the challenges that you'll have over the term. I mean, you're going to hear this from Joel Fry, one of our first year instructors, but you know, it's important to stay physically and socially healthy, and that means getting enough sleep, eating well. Those are always important things. Do get exercise. Try and make time for exercise each day. We're creating an opportunity where you can do that, and you can do that with your friends. The PAC is one of the best fitness facilities in Canada for undergrads. It's really good. So you're going to have access to that, and you know, make sure you're trying to get enough sleep and staying fit and healthy, and trying to develop friendships. I think this first year cohort is going to be a bit more unified than some of the past ones, because we're doing things more in engineering, and you're in blocks of students. So it's important to form friendships. Those friendships can be the basis for helping each other and supporting each other. In the winter term, we're actually going to be teaching you how to teach each other so that you can help each other. Because ultimately, at the end of the day, your professors like me there's not enough of us, but there's a lot of you. So you can help each other, and we'll be giving you tips on how to do that. And this is not a cutthroat exercise. We'll be very happy if you all do well and all pass and all are successful. Nobody's trying to get rid of anyone. This isn't like some other universities where, you know, they welcome 700 and they only have 500 spots in second year. This isn't like that. You can all go on to second year. So we want you to succeed, and that includes helping each other and supporting each other. So those will be key things, I think. Do take the time to learn about Saskatoon. You know, on the odd weekend in the fall when the weather's nice, get out to Broadway or 20th Street, or go to the Forestry Farm or the Western Development Museum if some of these places are new to you. There's lots of fun things to do in Saskatoon, and we would encourage you to embrace the town life as well.
All right, so my final question before we move on to our student groups is, Sean, what is your favorite part about being a professor?
Well, that's easy. It's teaching. It's certainly not administration. I would say research is a close second, only because I do research with students. I involve them in my research activities, and I enjoy research. It's fun. It's cool, and I tie that into my teaching. So I don't see them as entirely distinct, but what makes me happy is teaching. So when I'm going for a period of time without teaching, I get down. So I'm looking forward to teaching in the fall, when I will be with you for things like teaching in MATLAB, which is a really fun software environment, programming environment, where you can do really cool things and it can help you in your other courses. And so that'll be fun and exciting, I promise you. And then I'll be teaching design later in the fall. And then in the new year, I'll be with you for statics, which is a fun mechanics course, and design 2, which will be another dose of design, except at that point you'll be in your chosen disciplines, and you'll be doing some design projects. That'll be a first look at your chosen disciplines, so that'll be exciting as well. And yeah, I'm looking forward to all that.
Great, thank you. That concludes our Meet Your Professors section, but I am going to get Sean to come back when we talk about the different student clubs, because I know that you are quite involved in some of our design groups. So to introduce all of the different design groups that we have, we prepared a very short little video that shows the different student clubs that we have in engineering, as well as some of the other student groups across campus that you may be interested in. So we're just going to queue up the video. All right, so that is just a small fraction of the different student clubs and groups that we have on campus. There are so many ways for you to get involved. For example, like one of the student groups that we didn't mention, that's a very new student group to engineering, is the Engine Queers. So there's so many different ways that you can get involved, and I highly recommend getting involved in some way on campus because that'll just make your experience so much better. So now we're going to jump into our student panel, and I have some of the representatives from some of the groups that you just heard about. So I'm going to ask our student leaders to maybe turn on their cameras and their mics so that we can meet all of them. And if you have any questions for our student leaders, you can just pop them in the chat. But I have a few questions before we open it up to Q&A. So I'm just going to get everyone to introduce themselves. So if you could tell me your name, what your study you're in, and your discipline. So first up on my screen, I see Annika. So if you want to introduce yourself. Oh, it looks like your audio isn't quite working, Annika. Or maybe while she gets her audio sorted out, maybe I'll pass to the next person who's on my screen. So Arliss, if you could tell us your name, your study, and the discipline that you're in.
Hi guys, my name is Arliss and I'm going into my second year and I just have been accepted into mechanical.
Congratulations, that's awesome. So next on my screen, let's go to Ashton. Oh, and looks like your audio isn't quite working. All right, we'll give you also a moment to get your audio figured out. Maybe we'll go back to Annika.
Seems like it's a bit of a common theme. So like Caitlin mentioned, my name's Annika. I'm the president of Husky Formula Racing this year. I'm currently on internship, but I'll be going back for my final year of chemical engineering in the fall.
That's great. So I guess if anyone has any questions about what it's like to be a co-op student, you can direct those questions to Annika, and I'm sure she would have a little bit of insight. Ashton, is your microphone working now? Looks like it's still maybe not quite working. So I'm going to pass it to Emily. Introduce yourself.
Hey everyone, I'm Emily. I'm going into my 6th and final year
and I'm in mechanical.
All right, and Cassie.
Hey guys, I'm Casey. I'm also the president of the Saskatoon Engineering Student Society, and I'm just going into my third year of environmental engineering.
And Jeremy.
Hi everybody, my name is Jeremy Rempel. I am the systems team lead for the U of S Space Design team's RadSat SK CubeSat project, and I am in computer engineering going into my final year of study.
Right, and it looks like maybe Ash wasn't able to get your phone, so maybe we'll pass it back to him when he's able to rejoin us. So my first question for everyone is, I understand you are all very involved students. So if you could tell me a little bit about the student group that you're involved with, maybe give a little pitch why students should join. Anything you want to say to promote your group. I know this is a very engaged group of incoming students that we have, so I'm very excited to welcome everyone into the college. So yeah, just give us a little bit of a elevator pitch about your group. So maybe I will start with, let's go back to Annika.
All right. So Husky Formula Racing is one of the design teams. We design and build an open-wheeled race car every year. And in normal years, we go down to the States to compete, either in Michigan or in California. Reasons you should join. Honestly, it's been my favorite part about university. I love working on things. It's a great way to let off steam, and it's also been where I've met some of my closest friends. What else? If you do decide that engineering isn't for you, it is also open to all of the undergraduate students at the U of S, and doesn't matter about any prior experience or, like I mentioned, what discipline you're in. So definitely open to everyone.
Right, and let's next go to Emily.
Hey everyone, so I'm representing MESA here, the Mechanical Engineering Student Association. However, I'm also the president of Antiquities, which was the new group that Caitlin mentioned, and I've been a member of the Aero team for most of my time here, as well as the SESS, so if you have any questions about those, you can also ask me. As for MESA, or really any of the discipline groups, it's a great way to meet other students in your discipline, especially upper years, since you generally won't have classes with them. Most discipline groups also host tutorials throughout the year, which can be really helpful coming into midterms and finals. Of course, that'll be once you get into an actual discipline in second year, but it's also contacting student groups. The discipline group specifically is a great way if you're kind of unsure about what discipline you want to go into. The student leaders in these discipline groups, of course, are very passionate about what they do, and we're always happy to tell you about mechanical or whatever other discipline you're interested in.
So I didn't realize that you were a very, very involved student. I was wondering if you could maybe tell us a little bit about the other groups that you're part of. I don't think we have a rep from Engineers or the Aero design team. So could you tell us a little bit about those groups as well, in case students are interested in joining?
Yeah, for sure. So the Aero design team, every year we design a plane, mostly out of wood, and we take it down to a competition similar to the Husky Formula team that Annika mentioned. There's also a chance at the competition to do a presentation, and we write a report, which are very important skills that, although maybe not as fun as actually designing and building a plane, are very important in your educational and future career as an engineer. So that's the Aero team. As for Antiquities, we're a pretty new group, though Antiquities is a Canada-wide organization that was started at McMaster, but has now chapters all across Canada at universities. And it just like allows students to connect with other LGBTQ students in engineering, and we also welcome students from any college at any level, undergraduate or graduate. So just a place to build a community really is what Queers is all about.
Great, thanks. So next, let's go to Casey.
Hi again. So yeah, I'm the president of SCSS. So basically we're a student group. We're here for the students. We help you not only with social stuff, so we can help you get to different conferences hosted by West or by CFES. And then we can also help you get to different competitions. And then we also host a lot of events just within the college as well, just to get you connected to other students. And as for first years, we do a lot of stuff mainly for you guys. So we do a lot of tutorials. So if you're having trouble studying for a midterm or a final, typically we'll have a tutorial for that. We also have a tutor list. So if you're having trouble with a class, you can probably find a tutor on there on our website. And we also have something called a first year council. So that brings together a bunch of people. Oh yeah, you guys have finals this year. The midterms and all your term tests will be able to help you guys. So yeah, our first year council, that basically brings together, typically it's about 8 of you, more if people want to join. And it's just you create events meant for first years. So you can create, meet a lot of people like that. You can get involved with the SCSS. I started in first year council and I've worked my way up to president. So basically we're just here for you academically and socially.
So next, I'm gonna pass the mic to Ashton, and hopefully we got your tech issues figured out. And if you want to tell us a little bit about quarter scale.
Yeah, are you able to hear me? No?
Yeah, we can hear you. It's good.
Just a quick summary of what we do as a team is we design, build, test, and then compete a fully operational quarter scale tractor. I've got one just kind of behind me if you can see in my video. Each year we travel down to Peoria, Illinois for our annual competition and compete against teams across Canada, the States, and then there's one team from Israel. We're usually pretty well placed in our competition, usually somewhere in the top 10. So it's pretty good. Benefits for joining us, you get pretty good experience with the CAD program SolidWorks. For mechanical engineering, CAD is pretty big part of mechanical engineering, so you get lots of SolidWorks experience. The team looks great on the resume. We have pretty good contacts through sponsors. So we get pretty good employment. I think MacDon specifically has 6 of our team members on internship right now. And then most of our executive team and other members are also found employment in the ag industry. So that would be, I guess, another reason to join. And then, yeah, it's very fun. Like Monica said, it's probably my favorite part of being on campus as well. So.
Yeah, my time in my undergrad, I think my favorite part too was definitely the student clubs and getting involved. So it's a great way to meet people. So next I'll pass it off to Jeremy to talk a little bit about USST.
All right, thank you. Yeah, so I've been a member of USST, the U of S Space Design team, since my first year, which was 2016. I've been there a number of years. A little history about the team. So the group was founded in 2004. We started off with actually space elevators that we designed and built and sent to competitions that NASA hosted in the US, where we had great success. We came in first a couple of times and set several world records, which 2 of which stand to this day. So that's just a cool piece of our history. We moved on to building Mars rovers, as you saw in the video there. And we designed, built, and competed against universities from around the world for several years with those, and we came first place at the European Rover Challenge in Poland in 2015 with our rover. So that's pretty exciting as well. These days, though, we are working on a project in collaboration with the university, Sask Polytechnic, and the Canadian Space Agency. It's called the Canadian CubeSat Project, or CCP. And so we're actually designing and building a real CubeSat, which is a small satellite that will go to space sometime later on in next year. So there are a lot of advantages to being involved with such a large-scale and real-life hands-on project like this. So the first one is technical skills. There are many different facets to the design and construction of a CubeSat. There's the mechanical side of things. So on our team, you'll learn CAD modeling and structural analysis. You'll learn electronics design. Of course, there are lots of electronic parts in the satellite. You'll learn radio operation principles, software design and programming, as well as some other things like some of the physics involved in orbital flight and project management. And some of those are cool because you don't really get a whole lot of experience with those in your classes. You'll get sort of the beginning introduction in your classes, and then you get to really put them to the test and take them to the next level as part of our group. You also get to practice professional skills, such as giving presentations and delivering technical reports. And there are opportunities for leadership. We're divided into 8 sub-teams that handle the different components of the satellite. And so there are lots of different ways to be involved, as much or as little as you want, and kind of advance up through different leadership positions if that's something that interests you. And we're pretty proud to say that we've got a really good representation of different engineering and non-engineering disciplines in colleges. We have a good distribution that way, and so we're really happy to take on some new members. We're excited to see how you can contribute to our team. There's lots to do, and just around the corner as well is a second CubeSat project. So this one will be launching sometime next year, and we're just getting underway with, or about to get underway with, a second one that'll involve the Canadian Space Agency as well. So you can get on right here on the ground floor for that one as well.
That's great. I think one of the best things about joining a student group is, like you said, you get that real world experience that in a classroom, you get lots of skills, but you don't necessarily get to use them in the way you would when you're out in the workplace. So I think that's really great that you mentioned that. So finally, I'm going to open up to our final student, Arliss. So I guess I didn't invite you here to talk about a very specific student group. If you want to talk about your involvement in student groups, you're welcome to. And I also want to ask you about your experience with the re-engineered pilot class and what it was like using the competency-based assessment and what you thought about that. So I'll pass it off to you to talk about those two things.
Yeah, I really loved the pilot class we did. It was the GE 124, and you guys, or I guess it might be called something different or something similar, but it was, yeah, like Caitlin said, it was the competency based, so it's not like you're going to cram for a big exam, write the exam, and then just forget about everything. The way that the class is structured, it really helped you learned all the concepts, and then you would review them like multiple times until they were like ingrained in your brain. And it wasn't like a quick cram as we did with the other classes. And so I felt that really helped with like the overall understanding of the material.
So I guess you were kind of in a unique situation taking just the pilot class and then all the other classes. So what did you find was different taking the competency-based assessment alongside a traditional course?
Well, the competency-based was definitely, I mean, it was everyone's favorite class. I think I could honestly speak for all first years. Everyone loved it, and the professors were really great. And the way that it was structured, it just felt like everyone wanted you to succeed. Some of the other classes, it kind of felt, sometimes it felt like they were maybe trying to fail you. Whereas this other one, the pilot program, it was made for you to succeed and really learn the material.
That's great to hear that, because I'm sure that is music to Sean's ears, because that is exactly what they've been working so hard for the last 4 years to try to build into a class to make it feel like you're supported and um, that it's trying to help students succeed. So that's really great. So I guess I'll move on to a few rapid fire questions before we open it up to everyone to ask questions. So I'm just going to get everyone to talk about their favorite place on campus, your favorite thing to do on campus, just something that you really miss, you're excited to see when you go back. So maybe I'll pass it to Annika to talk about something that's your favorite about campus.
Surprise, surprise, I guess my favorite spot on campus is our workshop. Um, Definitely, this year we've had restricted shop access because of COVID restrictions, which is something that I've really missed. There's definitely something special, or was for me, about being in the shop late at night with my best friends working on the car, especially in the weeks leading up to competition. And yeah, so the Hardy Lab in general is a pretty cool spot. There's a lot of cool equipment to use. The coordinator for the Hardy Lab, his name is Mike Miller. He's just an absolutely wonderful person. Yeah, so I think probably definitely the Hardy Lab. The bowl in the center of the campus is also a really nice spot to hang out, particularly in the fall.
And Jeremy, what is your favorite place on campus or thing to do on campus?
Yeah, I guess I would echo a lot of what Annika said, which is that like what for me being heavily involved in a student group, it's definitely kind of the lab space. It becomes something more than just a place where you work on projects. It really does become kind of a family room in a lot of ways as you get to know people and get to build these close working relationships with other people in the group. Other than that, I think actually the Place Riel, like Lower Place Riel, just when where kind of some of the shops and not restaurants but sort of foods places are located, just is kind of one of my favorite places, which might sound weird because it's kind of got a foodie smell to it, but I don't know, I like hanging out there and just watching people come and go, because you see everybody from every college and different part of campus go by. It's just cool to mingle. It's definitely something I've missed the past year and a bit, but I'm excited to get back to it.
Yeah, sitting in lower class, you can never get anything done because you'll always run into someone you know, and you'll never actually get your studying done that you meant.
Yeah, that's the truth.
So, yeah. So next I'll pass it to Casey. What is your favorite place on campus?
Oh, it's so long since I've been there, I kind of forget everything. Probably the Ange Lounge, honestly. It's just in in our Ange Lounge, it's just such a different atmosphere than everywhere else in the building. It's everyone's just taking a time, relax, and you'll play pool in there, sit on the couches, grab something from our e-store. It's just, yeah, I miss the Ange Lounge.
Emily, what about you?
I have to say, I miss the English library a lot more than I thought I would. It can be a pretty hectic place at times and pretty loud with everyone working on stuff, but I miss being able to sit at a big table with a group of people and actually, work through problems together and chat in between when you need a break or whatever, instead of just sitting alone in an office.
Arliss, what about you? I guess you maybe haven't been to campus because you spent your first year at home. So, what place on campus, I guess, are you maybe most looking forward to being able to visit?
Yeah, well, yeah, since I haven't been there and I haven't really like I haven't even taken a tour, so I'm honestly not sure what's all there, but I am just really excited to finally get to go there and be there in person.
Yeah, and I recommend if you haven't been to campus to even just walk around. It's a beautiful park area. Like campus is huge, and you can just get lost wandering around the beautiful trees and the architecture. So, highly recommend doing that if you haven't gotten the chance to come to Saskatoon yet. So Ashton, what about you?
Yeah, so I'm gonna have to go with Jeremy and Annika on this. It is definitely the shop and the tractor office, I guess. Not saying that just because I'm trying to get people interested in the team, but it is definitely something I miss quite a bit. The in-person meetings are, yeah, usually are quite a bit better than the awkward silence on WebEx and stuff like that. So, um, yeah, definitely miss working on the tractor, or working on homework in the office or the shop.
So my final question for all of you before we pass it off to the open Q&A from our audience. Um, how has online learning been, and do you have any tips for students who maybe have never taken an online course or haven't learned through online lectures? So we'll just do a rapid fire uh, answer. So maybe for this one, I'll start with Arliss because I keep on ending with you. Since you've had your whole first year online, what would you recommend as a helpful tip for students?
Definitely getting started on assignments as soon as they come out. Don't wait, don't, we have a saying now, and it's do it later, do it never. So don't ever say that you'll do it later, because if you say that, it's not going to happen, or else, or else it'll be very crammed. So get started on things early.
I'll go to Ashton next. What is your tip for online learning?
Mine would be probably to make a to-do list for each day. I don't know, I downloaded a Microsoft app, and yeah, it really helped just writing down everything I needed to do the next day when I did that the night before. And yeah, just making sure I check everything off. That helped quite a bit.
All right, and Casey.
My biggest piece of advice would be even if your class is supposed to be at 8:30 and it's online and you can sleep in, don't. Just get your class done, wake up like you're supposed to be on campus, get it done, and then you can take a nap after. But if you stay on course as what you actually schedule your classes as, it'll keep you on track so that you don't all of a sudden be like, oh, I've missed a week of lectures. Now I'm gonna have to sit here for hours for catching up. So yeah, stay on top of it, do it when you're supposed to.
And Jeremy.
I think kind of similar to what Arliss said about starting things early. I definitely recommend that. Like, you know, as soon as you have the option to at least look at your assignment or your project or whatever it is, like you should go and read through the whole thing. And then what I would add to that as well is if something looks intimidating and you're not sure how to start, I think a lot of people who know a lot more about productivity than I do would recommend just take your big daunting task and break it down into smaller manageable chunks. So even if to start, you know, you're way ahead of the game and you're just putting in a couple of minutes or like 5 or 10 minutes on something a day just to break off these tiny little pieces, psychologically you're going to make so much more progress doing it that way, and it'll feel a whole lot less intimidating every time until it just feels natural to you to do it. So breaking things into small chunks is the way to go.
Emily.
I think the piece of advice that helped me with the most was to like create a start and an end for the day. So for me, that was going for a walk around the block, and then I do the majority of my work, and then before supper or when usually I'd be like heading home from school, I do walk around the block again, and it's just kind of like my made up commute. And then like obviously like you often do homework at home, and I would do a little after, but I found having that like pretend commute really helped me like get into different like mindset.
All right, and finally, Annika.
So I've been on internship this entire year, so I don't have a lot of experience with online classes. I did take a couple throughout the year though, and from when they transitioned online last fall, I'd agree with Jeremy, absolutely. It's even what I do at work of break everything down into manageable chunks. Even in person, what I would do is break up my assignments into how many questions there were and do, say, questions 1 and 2 on Monday and then 3 and 4 on Tuesday. That way you feel like you're making progress on all of them. So there isn't this kind of dread hanging over you that there's something that you haven't started. And then that way, if it is a really busy week, and these do happen that you can't get around to all of your assignments, you at least have something done for all of them, instead of one assignment that you get a 0 on.
That's great advice. I know engineering can be pretty busy, especially if you're really involved in a design team or a student group. So just having strategies to be successful. So I do have one more question, but I think I'm going to skip it because I want to leave time for our audience to ask us questions. So if we have any students who would like to ask questions, there's a few ways. You can either pop your question in the chat and we can direct it to one of the students or one of our staff that's with us here today, or you're welcome to raise your hand, or probably the easiest is turn your camera on and ask our panelists a question. So I guess I have a question just while we're waiting for some students to ask some questions, and this one is for Annika. Could you tell us a little bit about your experience with co-op and what it's like being on internship?
Yeah, for sure. So this might not be necessarily relevant. I was the last group to go through under the old internship program, and it's transitioned over to the new co-op program. So the Student Center can give a bit more specific information on that. But for me, I've been on a 16-month internship starting last May, and I've been out at one of the nutrient mines working in the process engineering group. So it's been absolutely fantastic for me. I've learned so much. I love being out at the mine, at the mill, being able to work with maintenance and the production departments. It's definitely intimidating at times because there's projects on my plate that I've never worked on before. But asking questions, working with those around me are, yeah, absolutely fantastic. And yeah, would definitely recommend doing internship to anyone who's interested. Like I mentioned earlier, I'm in chemical engineering, and doing internship has definitely cemented in my mind that process engineering or chemical engineering is definitely what I want my career to be in.
Great, thank you. I know a lot of students who've done the co-op internship program and just have found it to be so great. Again, just getting that real world experience and seeing that you like your discipline that you chose. So I'm just going to maybe ask Sarah, was there any questions that came up a lot in the chat that we could address for everyone? Or maybe Sean, if you've been monitoring the chat, if there's anything you'd like to address?
I saw one question about getting into the clubs, and in general, there's no restrictions on getting into the clubs. They don't have like a test or something you have to take to get in. So generally, all the clubs are pretty open and welcoming, and they're happy to see you if you're a first-year student, because then you have a few years to figure out the ropes and get into leadership positions, or you shop around in your first year and try a few different things, and you get to try some different options and figure out where you want to go with it in your second and third year.
I was just going to chime in. There's been lots of questions, and so I know likely some students are listening, some students are watching the chat, and a bit of both. So if you do have any questions that we have not answered, or just any other outstanding questions, of course, you're welcome to ask them now. But also, please do follow up with the Engineering Student Center. We're happy to help troubleshoot with you and guide you further. And that can be done in any number of ways, right? It can be an advising appointment. We've been running coffee chat times with our advising team, and so we likely will resume that a little bit later in the summer, possibly in the fall, so you can watch for that. You can email us or call us and just reach out as needed over the next little while. So I just wanted to say hello and welcome to everyone. I know that I've emailed also with some of you, advised some of you already, and we do have a team of 3 of us, plus a great administrative staff too. So there's lots of people behind the scenes too at the Engineering Student Center who you'll also be meeting face-to-face and virtually over the next little while. So again, just welcome, and don't worry, we're here for you. So that's pretty much it on my end.
Great, thanks, Sarah. So again, if there's any students who want to ask questions, this will be because this is our last UStart session. So please don't be shy. If you have any questions, if you want to raise your hand or turn on your video. But I'll maybe just ask some questions while we're waiting for some to come in from the audience. So the question that I had prepared that I skipped was, what is your favorite class? And what about that class made it your favorite? So maybe if any of our student panelists want to jump in and take that question, just go ahead and answer it.
I can answer that. I already mentioned that the pilot class, the statics class was my favorite, but one of the reasons it was, and it was all online, so we had a really active chat feature. There was a prof that would be answering the questions in the chat, and then the other one would be teaching the actual lecture material. And it was just so much fun to be involved in the class, and that's something I really encourage all of you guys to do with any of your online classes. Just hop in the chat and start asking questions, and not all of them are always relevant to what's being taught, but it definitely makes the classes a lot more interesting and lots of fun.
Does anyone else have anything to add about your favorite class you've taken throughout your engineering degree?
Yeah, I'll chime in, I guess. My favorite class, funny enough, wasn't actually directly an engineering class. So the College of Engineering also has a bunch of classes that fall under the RCM kind of label, and it's Rhetorical Communication, which covers how to speak well, which I'm not doing at the moment, but speak well and make convincing arguments and just conduct yourself professionally. And so there's at least one of those that I believe is required, but there are some upper kind of 400 level ones that you can take as well that are either a complementary studies elective or if you choose to take the professional communication, or I think there's 1 or 2 other certificates that you can add on. Sean might, yeah, anyway, there's more information that you can talk to advisors about. But anyway, RCM 409 was a negotiation class that I took last school year, I guess. And that was just excellent. Teaches you how to, how to negotiate well, fairly, in good faith, and to still get the results that you're looking for. And I've applied it in countless ways. And the professor who taught it, Professor Jeannie Wills, was excellent as well. And so I highly recommend it whenever you get there to that point in your degree.
Yeah, if anyone is interested, that's the Certificate of Professional Communications, which I highly recommend taking. And the other certificate that you may want to look into is the Technological Innovation Certificate. So that one gives you some great skills in business if you want to become an entrepreneur or create things. It's a great way to kind of diversify your skills with both of those certificates. So does anyone else have a favorite class that they'd like to talk about? If not, I have a question for Sean. All right, so I guess maybe
Yes.
I'll jump to my question for Sean. We have Jeremy here representing USST, but I know that also you're quite involved in the team. I was wondering if you could talk a little more about the team from a faculty perspective.
Well, yes, actually, Jeremy and Arliss are both knee deep in it, or neck deep in it, perhaps is a better way of putting it. My role with the CubeSat program, or the RadSat SK project, is to work with the project managers and the systems leads to help manage the project. So on paper, I'm called the principal investigator for this project, but really I do nothing except meet with the students each week and help advise them on running the program and on budgeting and stuff like that, and human resources development. So I get to meet with them every week, and I really enjoy that. And when I was a student, we tried to start a program like this. Of course, that was decades ago. You know, they could barely launch a rocket then. But my faculty supervisor said, "Oh, we don't know enough to help." So we didn't get to launch any, build or design or launch any satellite. Instead, the Americans did it, and they started developing these CubeSats. So I didn't want to let that happen with our students here at the University of Saskatchewan. So when they came to me and said, "Hey, there's this program to launch a satellite in space by students," I said, "Well, sure." And we are the only program in Canada, the only CubeSat program in Canada that is entirely run by students. I mean, I'm just an advisor and I sign things, but the students do all the work. And those are almost all undergraduate students. And the Space Agency considers our team one of the best teams in Canada. And most of the rest of the teams are just a bunch of professors and grad students. So we're very happy with how the students have been doing. And as Jeremy alluded to, there are going to be exciting opportunities coming soon, probably in the first year program for all of you. There will be a new program launched by the Space Agency for either another CubeSat or any number of exciting other things that could happen. So there are some profs who act as mentors and student advisors for the design teams, and that's my role with the RadSat SK CubeSat project.
That is so cool. I think, you know, a lot of kids have a dream of being an astronaut when they grow up someday. So it's pretty cool that maybe you're not going to be an astronaut, but you can work with the Canadian Space Agency in your undergraduate degree. So that is so cool. So the next question I see in the chat, I'm going to maybe direct it to our discipline groups because I think they may be the experts on this. And the question is, how much time can we expect to spend on our courses apart from class time? So maybe Emily, do you have a comment for how much time students might spend in their courses?
It really depends on the course. Something I was told early on was that you should spend equal amount of time out as in, I think. So if you have 3 hours class plus 3 hours lab per week, then you should be spending 6 hours out of class a week. But depending on the class, depending on the week, it varies. No, that's a hard one, depending on the class, especially now with your new re-engineer first year. I'm sure it's going to look a lot different. But yeah, I think it's just about finding your pace and making sure you get good at estimating how long tasks are going to take you and making those to-do lists, like a few of the leaders mentioned, and yeah, just getting a feel for how you work through all of the material.
Caitlin, I think you're on mute.
Thank you. I thought I was going to get away with not doing it this time. Cassie, do you have anything to add about kind of what the workload might be like or how much free time students might expect to have in their engineering degree?
I think it also depends on really like what kind of student you are. Like, or well, as for me, I like to spend time so that I get everything done way before the deadline. So I spend way more time at the start of the week, whereas some of my friends prefer to do stuff just slightly, a little bit every day. But I'm just kind of like go, 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 so then I can spend more time with my friends later on in the week. But really, yeah, it's about think of it as your daytime job. So if you're only in class for 3 hours a day, try to spend what would typically be an 8 hour day in that job with that at home doing schoolwork. Um, yeah, I don't know if that helps you.
No, that's great advice. And that's kind of a principle that I found that was really helpful when I did my studies is to treat it like a full-time job. It's easy to, want to sleep in or take the afternoon off, but if you are consistent with doing your schoolwork, it's a whole lot easier and when you don't have to cram the night before. So I'm just going to check out the chat and see if there's any more questions that have come in. We only have a couple minutes left, so I think we're only going to take a couple more questions. So maybe here's a question. If we get in a club, can we leave? So if students are not really sure if they want to do a design club or they're not sure if they have maybe the time to commit, are they selling their soul to one of the design teams or student clubs? Can they leave?
Yeah, so I can add on to that a bit. I know Sean already said that yes, you can absolutely leave. And I believe it's like that with all of the design teams. I'd say that, and I think this goes for the student groups in general, of what you put into them is what you'll get out of it. So if you join the team and decide it's not for you, that's totally fine if you leave. If you join the team for HFR, we have meetings once a week and shop days once a week, and you just want to come for those, that's totally up to you. If you want to spend every night in the shop, that's also up to you. And I think it's like that, like I mentioned with all of them.
That's a great answer. Thanks, Annika. So we only have a couple minutes left, so maybe I'll just pass it off to everyone to give kind of their final closing advice to our 120 students that are joining us today. So just kind of a final tip, a piece of advice, last kind of word about your team. So maybe I'll start with Arliss.
Okay, my last piece of advice would be if you guys haven't already, I would have someone set up a Discord server. That's what we used for my first year, and we're going to keep using it for second year. And it was so helpful. It's really great to help each other on assignments and when you struggle with understanding a concept. And it's just like a platform that can bring everyone together. Like you can have like 200 students or actually like more. Everyone can go on it and you can be as active or as inactive as you want. And I found it as a really great tool.
Thank you, Arliss. That's actually a great plug. So we do have a Discord for this cohort. If you haven't joined it, yes, please do. And then we're hoping once it's no longer a recruitment chat that we'll be able to pass it off to one of the student groups to monitor the Discord so that it can be your chat and your group's place to discuss homework and chat about all the different things that is like being an engineering student. So next on my screen, I'm going to pass it off to Annika for any kind of tips or advice you have.
I think enjoy your time in university. Try not to get bogged down in the mentality of being so busy, everything's so hard. I think that it's a mentality that has a tendency to pop up in engineering, and I've seen it time and time again just really drag students down. So It's stressful for everyone. Everyone's busy. Do your best to take it in stride, and you'll enjoy your time a lot more.
And Ashton.
Oh, yeah. My advice would be to probably join a design team. I don't know, they are pretty awesome. Even, yeah. Like for just finding textbooks or getting advice on what electives to take, whatever you need. Lots of us we've gone through it all, so we can definitely help you out that way.
And Jeremy.
Yeah, at risk of sounding like the old guy who's been around for a while, I think that the best advice that I can give is that your university is your life. Your life doesn't start after university. Like, I know that some people, myself included, have kind of thought of that, or had that mindset in the past of like, I just need to get through this. I just need to put my head down and go. And then like everything starts and gets better after this. You're going to have good times. You're going to have bad times all throughout your university career. But it's all like you'll want to just take advantage of it. I think, like Annika kind of said as well, just do your best, have fun, and learn lots. I mean, there's so many opportunities to do all of those things. Just keep your head up and kind of look around you, and don't get too bogged down with the menial stuff. But yeah, it's a great time though.
And Emily.
Yeah, kind of echo what Jeremy said, but don't be afraid to take your time. I'm going into my 6th year here, but because I stretch it out, I've been able to do a lot. Like I mentioned at the start, I'm part of 4 different groups right now, and I've been able to do the certificate of professional communication along with my degree. I've been able to go to conferences and be involved in other events, and I've been able to have a lot of fun throughout my degree instead of just focusing on my courses, which of course are important, but they're not all that university is. So yeah, just take it at your own pace, and have fun with it.
All right, and finally, Cassie.
Mine would be to don't make your whole life as a university student be a university student. Don't just do full on school and nothing else. Try to find a hobby or keep your hobby, whether that be joining one of the student groups and having one of those be your hobby, or finding something apart from that. Just try to find something that you can spend your time on, and when you're stressed about school, you can focus on that so that you can have some sort of joy and just really get involved in the university.
And Sean, do you have anything to add before we close?
Well, besides agreeing with everything that everybody has said before, the collective wisdom, I would just offer this observation. 30 years from now, you're not going to remember a specific assignment. Well, actually, that's not exactly true, but you're not going to you're not going to remember doing a bunch of work. You're going to remember the people that you did it with, and actually the ones you'll remember were the really hard assignments that you had to work together with everybody on, and you were a team, and you got it done together. So invest in your friendships and your relationships as much as anything else, because those are the things that will last the longest. And my classmates, like you and your classmates, we're a family that is still together 25, 30 years later. And that's because we invested in each other, and being friends and working together. And you'll have that too if you also invest in each other and make friends and keep those bonds together. So I would just encourage you to invest in each other as much as you do your schoolwork.
Right. Well, thank you so, so much, everyone, for joining us. I think all the students that were here tonight got amazing opportunity to learn so much about what it's like to be a student and hear about our great student clubs, and just echoing what everyone has said, get involved. Like Sean said, you probably won't remember writing that GE 111 assignment, but you will remember the people you met and all of the different experiences you had. So thank you to all of our panelists who were able to join us today. And thank you for taking the time out of your evenings, and thank you for all of our participants who joined us. And I hope you all have a great rest of your evening and enjoy a beautiful Saskatchewan summer evening if that's where you're tuning in from. So thank you, and I hope you have a great evening.
Bye.